Yep. Today's a big one. This is the 35mm 1.4 G Master. Let's crack this right open. What? Kids, what the f? Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Desmond. If you're new here, I make videos for creative dads and parents that want to take better photos and shoot better video. And today is an exciting day. This is the new 35mm 1.4 G Master from Sony. This thing is gorgeous. It is actually my first G Master and my first 35mm prime. So I'm going to run through the lens, some of its features, form factor, build quality, and then I'm going to talk about why I bought this and also why I would recommend it for other parent photographers. All right, so let's just talk about the build quality first. This thing is built incredibly well. Obviously, it goes without saying, because it's a G Master, Sony's professional grade of lenses, it is the best possible option for the 35mm focal length coming out of Sony. Build quality, again, is incredible. It is dust and weather sealed. It is made from a combination of glass and high quality plastics, some rubber, some metal, but you'd never be able to tell that this construction is made from plastic. It feels premium, it feels expensive, which is exactly what it was, but it has a good amount of weight to it. It is just really nice, really well balanced. Obviously there's a weather sealing gasket on this lens as well. And a few of the other features that I'll just call out, which I think are pretty standard across Sony's G Master and some of their new G lenses, is their aperture ring, both clickable and declickable. So if you click that switch, you've got smooth aperture control. That is specifically for video users. If you want to do rack focus, or if you want to manually and smoothly adjust your aperture while you're filming videos, you can do that. I personally keep it clicked. I just like the satisfying clicking sound. There is a customizable multifunction button. You can set that to whatever you'd like. I usually have that set to eye autofocus or focus hold. And then again, something standard you'll always find, autofocus, manual focus button. The focus ring also feels incredibly smooth. There's a good amount of feedback. And another thing, if we're talking about focus, one big thing about this lens is it has Sony's new linear focusing motor, which means it has incredibly fast and accurate focusing. All right, so another thing that comes with this lens is the lens hood. So like I mentioned, this is the first G Master I've purchased, so maybe this is pretty standard on other G Masters, but this lens hood actually has a locking function, which I really enjoy. Makes it feel a lot more secure, and for me, when I'm trying to attach my lens to my camera, sometimes I'll grab it by the lens hood and twist. Depending on the type of lens hood you have, sometimes the lens hood will come loose or it just won't give you the traction you need to actually click the lens into place. I love the locking lens hood. I also think it's a pretty good size. It has this matte rubberized finish right on the lip, which I enjoy. Again, you've got this like great looking gloss and matte aesthetic. And that's another thing that I want to mention is how badass this lens looks. I think that's one of the things that I think other reviewers don't spend a lot of time on, but like, I just love the way this lens looks. It is just so well designed. I love the red G Master emblem here. And again, a little mix of like matte blacks, semi-gloss blacks, tiny red accents all over it. I mean, yes, if you've purchased Sony lenses or G lenses in the past, you were probably going to be familiar with this style and this aesthetic, but just wanted to spend a few seconds talking about just how much I love the way the lens looks. It's just a great design. Okay, so I'm not going to spend a lot more time talking about the technical details or image quality of this lens. It's a G Master. Obviously, the image quality is incredible, but there are a ton of different YouTube videos that already exist that will dive into all the pixel peeping needs and wants you could ever have. I want to spend some time talking about why I bought this particular 35mm lens over some of the other options in the market. So let's talk about why I bought this lens. First, I wanted a 35mm prime. I've got something on the ultra wide side, the 20mm 1.8, which I'm using right now to film. That's my primary video lens. I've got something like a 55mm 1.8, the Sony Zeiss lens, and I've also got an 85 Batis. 35 was the one focal length that I was really missing, that I was finding myself using a lot, especially when I was shooting on my 24-70 Sigma. Found myself dialing into the 35mm range a lot because it's not too wide. Obviously, I don't have to step too far back to get good shots. So for me, finding the right 35mm lens was really important, right? I think it fills that gap between my 20 and my 55. And the nice thing about this lens is there's no distortion, even with a wider focal length. And that is really important to me. With the 20mm, when I'm taking photos, again, if I get too close to my subject, you're gonna start to see the distortion that happens with ultra wide lenses. And with the 55, I found it a little bit too tight, especially for shooting indoors or when we're at restaurants or places where I don't have a lot of space to step back. So a 35 was perfect. Another deciding factor for me was size. Obviously, you've got smaller options available. You've got the 35mm 1.8, and you've also got the new 40mm that Sony released to kind of go with the A7C series of compact lenses. But for me, it was about finding the right size that fit my personal preference. I actually think that the 35mm 1.8 from Sony is a bit too small. I know that sounds odd because I have touted the value of having a small and lightweight lens, but with my 55mm 1.8, sometimes when it's sitting on my A7R4, it just feels out of place. It almost feels a little bit too small and too light. I'm personally just looking for something that feels right in the hand. I think with this lens, it's got a great weight to it. It also has a good balanced size. So combined with my A7R4, it feels just so proportionate in the hand. It feels really enjoyable to shoot. It's not too front heavy. The camera body isn't overpowering the size of the lens. This actually worked out really well. And again, I'm just gonna gush over how like gorgeous this whole package looks. I'm just gonna be honest, that goes into the decision-making process for me sometimes. It's just like, how good does the end result look? How good does it feel in the hand when I'm using it? And how enjoyable is it to look at? Like, this thing is gorgeous right now. I love this. So that was a really important piece for me. Okay, next, let's talk about quality. Obviously, this is a G Master, so the photos and video quality that come out of this are going to be incredible. This is a professional grade lens. I, for one, am not a professional photographer or videographer. And when I say that, that means I don't get paid by clients or customers to take photos or make videos. I am a professional in other things, and I do use professional grade equipment to do work and to create content for my brand, to create content for YouTube. So I use professional equipment, but I don't get paid specifically to take photos or make videos. With that said, I wanted something that would produce the best possible quality for my everyday lens. Okay, so another reason why I went with this lens in particular over, say, the 1.8s is I wanted this f1.4 aperture. Again, because I think low light performance is really important for parent shooters. Again, probably not as important for people who have the time to set up lights or have control over their scenes. But for us, if we're shooting in a restaurant or if we're shooting in like a bedroom or small indoor places where it's dimly lit, having that extra low light performance and that extra light come into your sensor is really important. And again, like, this is an f1.4. It has great performance, beautiful background blur. Pair that with the linear focusing motor and you have incredible autofocus plus low light performance. And the other reason why I went with the G Master over some of the other options out there, like the Sony f1.8 or even like Sigma's 1.2 and some of other lenses out there for the E-mount, is because I'm slowly subscribing to the mindset that I want to future-proof my equipment. I want to buy something once, not have to worry about upgrading or not getting the itch to upgrade. So an example is I bought my A7R II, my first professional grade camera, about 6 or 7 years ago. And I only recently upgraded to the A7R IV. But with that said, my Sony 55mm 1.8, I've had that for about 7 years. Same thing with my Zeiss Batis 85mm. I've had that for about 6 years. I'm looking to buy something that I won't want or need to upgrade for the next 10 or so years. So that's also why I went with the G Master. Sometimes I think going the cheaper option is good for some people, but eventually as you grow into your equipment, as you grow into your craft, you may get the itch to upgrade. You may want to get a better lens. You may want to get a better body. That'll actually cost you more money in the long run versus going out, getting the lens that you want or getting the camera body that you want, and then using it as a tool to grow into, using it to really hone your craft. That's not the mindset for everyone though. So again, kind of like to each their own. That is what I'm starting to subscribe more to, is spending more money on a quality, future-proof product, whether it's a bag or a camera or a car or I don't know, a notebook, doesn't matter. And then not having to upgrade and having that just last the test of time. So why would I recommend this camera for other parent photographers? Well, if you're anything like me, again, not a professional photographer or videographer, I don't get paid to take photos or make videos, but I do get the benefit out of using professional grade equipment. So yes, I could record a enablement video on my MacBook webcam, or I could use my iPhone, but I prefer to use a cinema-line camera like the FX3 because the quality of the output matters to me. It's like a personal preference. If I'm going to do something, I want the output to be the best possible, or I want to learn how to do it the best way possible. That's just something that I've always enjoyed doing. So when I'm taking photos of the family, I want them to be professional grade, professional quality looking photos, things that I'm proud of, things that I can print, and things that will be future proof. So why do I need a 61 megapixel sensor on my A7R IV? 90% of the time I don't, but I do enjoy the ability to crop in and still have really clean photos. I do enjoy the idea that at any given point, I could take one of my favorite prints 10 years from now of my kids and blow it up and have it at a wedding or print it up for a large wall in the house. That type of sentimental value is important to me. There is no price that I can really put on that. 10 years from now, do I want to be able to print a 24-foot photo? I don't know. Having the option to do so is important to me. So same thing goes with this lens. Do I need all of the sharpness and the quality of this lens for most of the things that I do? I don't, but having it there, being able to lean on it when I need it, or maybe when I don't even know that I need it, that is a value that I will pay extra for. Okay, and lastly, I would recommend this lens to any other parent photographers who kind of suffer from gear acquisition syndrome, right? This mindset of just going for the higher quality version or the end-all be-all equivalent of whatever I want to buy has helped me. One, because it obviously forces me to use the more expensive equipment. I want to get the most out of my money. But two, it also satiates that itch to constantly upgrade, right? If I bought a nifty 50 in the past, I would definitely be itching to buy a nicer 50mm lens, but I went with the 55mm 1.8. It was a $1,000 lens at the time, and I still use it 7 years later, and I will still continue to use it. I have no inclination to upgrade that, even with the new 50mm 1.2 that Sony just dropped. Like, that is an important thing for me, not having that itch, not having the temptation. So that's why going with a 35mm G Master, knowing that this will likely be my everyday lens, this will probably be the most used lens in my lineup for the foreseeable future, just going with the more expensive version and not having that itch to say upgrade in another couple years. It's still gonna cost a ton of money if I do. So I just went with it this time. So those are the reasons I bought and why I recommend this to other parent photographers like me. Again, I'm not a pro. I don't get the most out of this equipment 90% of the time, but I know that I'll grow into it. I know that I'm working on my craft. I know that I'm invested in this passion and this hobby, and I'm gonna use the crap out of this lens. So I feel really good about that. And with that said, that is my review. I hope y'all enjoyed it. If you want more content like this, hit the like button and subscribe for more. All right, I will see you all in the next one.